Before we get into character animation, let's first go over the animation interface in 3ds Max. Probably the interface that you use the most is actually the one that's actually sitting in front of you right now, which is the basic Max interface with the viewports. For example, if I take a sphere here, I can do a lot of animation tasks right here in the interface. Down here we have the track bar, which has a slider, which allows us to move through frames. We can enlarge this to see animation curves. Down here we also have our play, next frame, go to end, and so on and so forth. Here we have what's called time configuration, which allows us to set the frame rate to film, video, or a custom rate. Shows us how to display time, whether or not we play back in real time or at a slower rate. Also the start and stop time of our animation right now, which is is from 0 to 100, but you can change it to whatever you want. You can also change things within the track bar itself. By holding down Control and Alt, you can actually scale or unscale the end time by right-clicking and left-clicking. So if I Control Alt left-click, I change the beginning frame number. If I Control Alt right-click, I change the end frame number. Now, animating in Max is very simple. We have two options here. We have Auto Key. If I click that on, all I have to do is set the time slider to a value and then just move the object. Notice how right here we created two keyframes. Now, these little red ticks here are actually our keyframes. So, for example, if we went to 20, it would create another keyframe. We can move these keyframes around just by clicking them and dragging them. So, for example, if I wanted to extend that to 25, I could do that very simply by just dragging it wherever I want. You can also copy keyframes. So let's say I wanted the ball to go back to its beginning spot at the very end. I can just highlight this keyframe here, hold down the Shift key, and drag. And that will copy that keyframe. If you want, you can right-click on a keyframe, and that'll give you what's actually been keyed. We can delete keys. We can filter and show different types of keys. We also have a configuration here, which one of the most important ones is that allows us to show a soundtrack. And we also have what's called show selection range, but which I tend to turn off here, and also tend to turn off the soundtrack because you really want as much area as possible. But if you are animating dialogue or to a soundtrack, it's great to be able to see the waveform. Now, we talked a little bit about auto key. There's also another mode here called set key. I'm going to go ahead and delete these keys. Now, typically, I tend to animate in auto key mode because it's really just, you don't have to think about having to set key for every single frame. But set key mode can be useful in a lot of ways. So what you do for set key mode is actually you move your object wherever you want and position your character, whatever. Highlight set key, and then you just hit that button, and it goes ahead and it sets a key. And again, once the keys are there, you can do the same thing with these. Now, the one thing about set key mode is that you can actually put in key filters here, which allow you to say, I just want to set position, rotation, scale, whatever. So you can actually have it only set keys for rotation or something like that. So you really do have a lot more control over that when you use set key. There's also one more thing here, which is the little curve editor. So as we, if we selected our object, we could see that we actually have, these are our animation curves. Now, you can also get to your animation curves through what's called the graph editors, and we're going to go ahead and go through those in a little bit more depth in the next movie.